appears that your truce with the Russians has just ended.
But I didn't order an attack.
Then who did?
I don't know. But the Russians are going to blame us. You'd best get us out of here.
Based on the 1963 movie of the same name, From Russia with Love is the second third-person action game from EA starring James Bond. It's based on the Everything or Nothing engine, the game that EA put out early last year that was actually basically a re-envisioning of the entire series. It took out the whole first-person shooter thing, went straight third-person action, totally original adventure starring many of the cast members from the actual film series. From Russia with Love, EA's gone back in time. They've sort of resurrected the 1963 movie, brought back Sean Connery to reprise his role, voice act James Bond, and kind of hacked together the plot into this action game that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense since the movie itself isn't exactly that action-oriented to begin with. For that matter, it's not even really that good of a game compared to even Everything or Nothing. It lacks that kind of that spark, that real feeling of thrill that was just so prevalent in that game. And here it's just kind of like a lot of shooting, a lot of car chases, and that's it. In case you've never seen From Russia with Love, basically the plot is that Spectre, one of the evil organizations, that MI6, the organization that James Bond works for, is sort of hatching this trap for James Bond. They get this Russian sort of communications agent to basically try and lure James Bond to Istanbul to steal a communications device that sort of cracks Russian codes, all sorts of, cool stuff like that. It's basically trying to play two sides against one another kind of thing, and Spectre gets all wrapped up in it, trying to steal the communications device for themselves, and it's a little convoluted, but no more convoluted than any other James Bond plot. The problem is that the plot of the movie doesn't really translate well necessarily into an action game. It's kind of a slow-moving, kind of nifty little film, a lot of clever dialogue, stuff like that. So for the game, they've kind of hacked in these a lot of just sort of elongated action sequences that aren't really in the movie, and in fact have rewritten a lot of portions of the movie that don't necessarily fit together quite as well. It's weird where they cut stuff out and weird where they kept stuff in. So it feels like a weird balance, and if you are a fan of the movie, you might not like what they did with it necessarily. From a gameplay standpoint, this is a lot like Everything or Nothing. The core shooting mechanics are basically the same. You just kind of auto-target everyone and shoot everyone. And, Bond villains, they're not very good at hitting James Bond, so here they're not very good at hitting James Bond, but here they're extra not good. This is one of those things where Everything or Nothing was very good about not getting in your way and not being overly difficult. Here there's really no difficulty at all. It's just kind of like a shooting gallery. You just sort of run through, shoot dudes, shoot dudes, shoot dudes, they die. That's pretty much it. There's some really fun sequences in here too, but they're not often the ones where you're just running around shooting guys. Usually, you got to use one of Q's gadgets, like the Q-copter, which is kind of a neat thing where you just have this little helicopter that goes up you can use for surveillance and can actually blow stuff up. Some of the driving sequences are kind of neat, where you're just running around Istanbul shooting machine guns out of your car at Russians that are trying to kill you. And then there's these jetpack sequences, which aren't in the movie anywhere, but they're kind of neat to have anyway, just because you're flying around in a jetpack shooting guys with missiles and stuff. That's cool. But at the same time, they're also all really easy. They're more thrilling because they're different, they're variety, and they're interesting, but at the same time, they're not hard. There is also a multiplayer component, but it's not fun, exactly. It's kind of just standard third-person, split-screen multiplayer, no online at all. All told, there is fun to be had with From Russia with Love. It's got, enough cool moments, core components that work right. It's got some good shooting in it, as long as you don't put too much thought into it. You're not too worried about trying to, challenge your way through the game. It's just, you can power through it in about 7 hours, maybe go back and play a few of the bonus levels, try and get some unlockables and stuff, but as it is, it's probably serviceable more as a rental than, as an actual purchase. And for those who are big fans of Everything or Nothing, you're probably going to be kind of disappointed in it because it really just doesn't deliver up to the same level of experience that game did.